when the weather is hot. Mm.
Well, yeah. Why do you think there is such a huge variation of the weather, Mitch? In the morning it's a bit cold and chilly, and in the evening, like now, on the afternoon, it's pretty warm or pretty hot. Why do you think such extreme changes in the weather?
Well, I think obviously it is for the climate change, and also in this season of the year, is usually tend to be like this. It's at least in Mexico. This part of the year is the hottest part, and well, maybe if they are extremely hot weather, in some contrast there could be a cold weather for some hours to ay, ay, ay. I don't know, there's a contrast.
Yeah, that is very true. Let me welcome Mickey. Mickey, hello. How are you today?
Hi, teacher. I'm great, thank you very much. And you?
Fine, thanks very much. Overwhelmed with so many activities, but
I imagine.
coping or trying to cope. Trying to cope is the word. Not coping totally, but trying to cope. I feel
Yeah.
like a juggler with so many activities that I need to start dropping or delegating some. But fine, thank you. I was chatting with Mitch about the weather. She feels overwhelmed a little bit by the extreme heat.
hmm
How do you feel these days, Mickey, with the weather?
Mm, ah, bad, teacher, to be honest. More when I'm coming back to my house, that I end school and it's around at 2 to 5 p.m. The sun is so, how can I say, the sun is so mm,
Intense. Oh, yeah.
intense Mhm. and it's
Yeah.
horrible. But
Right.
it
Do
is
you
not.
think this causes a water stress? Do you think this causes stress in water and also some type of conflict and maybe migration? Do you think that climate change leads to water stress? In other words, we don't have enough access to water, um, and eventually, consequently, that causes conflict and migration. Or what is your take on this? You think which are the consequences of this huge climate change?
Um, it's a huge problem because, uh, well, we've seen cases, for example, in Monterrey that they didn't have water and they were dealing with that. And I would imagine that is something so hard because we are, in part, get used to use the water and to use in the way that we normally use. And probably, well, it could disappear and it's a big problem.
Yes, which is, in your opinion, Mitch, thank you, Mickey, which is the highest risk that we face when there is such a huge or an amazing and threatening and irreversible, apparently irreversible. I don't know if it's irreversible or not, but it's huge climate change. What can the consequences be, in your opinion, Mitch?
Well, usually I don't like to think about it because it's pretty enormous. It's like it could kill uh, a lot of ecosystems, starting with the plants, which are the being life's most devil. Oh no, more
The
wicked.
weakest, the weakest, the weakest,
The weakest being
weakest.
life, being survived.
Yes, 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 yes.
Then go with with the insects, then with the animals, and then with us. If there are not plants, a lot of other beings of lives lost their food, and if there are not sufficient plants, we die. We The quantity of life for everyone low, starting with the trees and all the plants that give us the tools to breathe well, to breathe,
To
uh,
breathe, to breathe,
to breathe. Sorry, and
to breathe. Yes.
also with the it could dry the lot of water. The rains are more inconsistent. Uh, well, it's the slow destruction of the world in other words. That's why I don't like to think about it usually.
Yeah, I understand, and I sympathize with your comment a lot. Have you thought, Mickey, of an image that would represent this urgent matter in the world? For instance, I made a cartoon with a bear, a polar bear, with a stick bar, with a bar and his clothes in a small bag, leaving the North Pole and going south. And when I made
Hmm.
this drawing in a board in the high school, the kids were kind of sad when when they saw the bear leaving the pole because it was melting.
Hmm.
It, it seemed to be a bit dramatic, but what other representation would you do if you had to make a graphic representation? How would you show it to people to make conscious of that there is a great danger in our practices?
Mm, I remember when I mentioned where is the word and it's like the mm, I'm remembering the image, but it was like the planet,
Hmm.
and it has a key for the water. I don't know how to say it. The
Faucet,
one
faucet,
faucet.
faucet. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, and it looks like only the faucet drops just a little bit of water instead of all the water that the people would imagine. But it's because there's no more water in all the planet, and it's like the
Uh,
faucet and little drops.
that is dramatic.
Yeah.
Well, the question that I have, thank you, Mickey, thank you, Mitch. How would the water scarcity affect displacement of humans, human displacement, as it suggests here in chapter, in page 101 here, which is environment, climate change, and human displacement. Before we get into that, how do you imagine that water scarcity would lead or would provoke human displacement?
Displacement, you mean desplazamiento?
Exactly, yes, migration.
Okay.
Mm, well, it's something that could occur, and probably in some places it's occurring now because if you don't have water to, I don't know, to wash yourself, to clean your teeth, to clean your clothes, to use for all the activities that we normally use water, because I think that in the majority of things that we do in
Yes,
house requires water. So obviously, the necessity to have this water again makes people to emigrate to other places.
exactly, exactly. It looks like or sounds like logical, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Teacher,
yes,
sorry for interrupt you. We
yes.
create a presentation. Did you remember?
Oh, really? Wow, fantastic. You want to
Yeah, of the
show it to us,
contents.
please?
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic,
Mitch first.
awesome. Okay,
Ladies,
you want to go
ladies
first,
first.
Mitch? Ladies first. Okay.
Yours? Okay. Wait me as 1 second. Okay.
I'm gonna go for a glass of water, teacher.
Absolutely, absolutely, Mickey. Sure.
Thank you.
Well, the presentation was of which country we like to visit, and I choose Japan in this case. More than anything, I had an influence of all the culture that they show us to around the world. They are pretty disciplined and pretty organized, and I really admire that kind of the Asians. But specifically in Japan, I think a lot of things are pretty colorful, and I know that they are not the fairy tale that a lot of their products told us, but I think it's could be a pretty good experience as a touristic going there. Well, I'm going to. Y to. Ay, oh. Oh well, I distribute my information between tourism, gastronomy, and culture. And I started with the culture, for example. I wrote that, well, Japan has a rich culture with a long story that has evolved over centuries. The samurai Japanese warriors who existed between the 12th and 19th centuries are one of the most well-known aspects of Japanese culture. The tea ceremony is a traditional practice that has been passed down for generations and focuses on the presentation and enjoyment of green tea. Japanese festivals such as the Sumida Fireworks Festivals in Tokyo and the Gion Festival in Tokyo and are also an important part of the Japanese culture. Going to the gastronomy, we can see, of course, the sushi. The Japanese cuisine is also known for its attention to detail and the quality of its ingredients. Sushi, one of the most well-known dishes, consists of raw fish, uh, rolled in a sheet of nori seaweed. Ramen is a noodle soup that can be found throughout Japan with different styles and flavors in each region. Wagyu, high quality beef, is another famous dish. Additionally, Japan is famous for its green tea, sake, and fruit-based in alcoholic drinks such as umeshu made from plums. And and the end about talking about the tourism that I think that is the let's talk about this country. Japan is also known for its modern technologically advanced city like Tokyo and Osaka, as well as its historical and cultural sites. The Kiyomizu Dera temple in Kyoto is an 8th century Buddhist temple that is an UNESCO World Heritage Site. uh, Himeji Castle is one of the oldest and the best preserved castles in Japan. It's also a popular site to visit. Mount Fuji, Japan's highest mountain, is another popular tourist spot, especially for climbers. Additionally, ocean natural hot springs are a popular tourist attraction through the Japan, especially in the Hokkaido and Nagano prefectures.
Very nice.
No.
Very nice. I have a question about your presentation, Mitch. It's really interesting, but how do you associate the current culture of Japan, the current technology advancement they have advanced throughout the decades, with the history and politics? I'm
Mhm.
not talking about specific politics, the policy in general and their history. They are not a nation that has not undergone difficult times. On the contrary, they have suffered. Well, that's the only nation that has received two atomic bombs in the world in history. No other nation has suffered this disaster. Well, Kiev in the Ukraine, but that was an accident. And that was a nuclear reactor. And the United States also, although they don't disclose this information, they have also had leaks in nuclear reactors that have killed lots of people. How do you associate their culture with their history?
Um Well, I think relationate with the atomic bombs, they got like how can I say, like a reaction. How, as you said, were the only nation to get two atomic bombs and suffer that disaster, and they reaction even with the I think everything is related since their ancestors were the samurai warriors went to discipline and a disaster like that, like the atomic bomb, they got a reaction to increase their attention to all the attacks from other nations. And we can see in the current culture that their discipline in all the aspects of their nation between about um, gastronomy in detail, health, and how can I say this? Well, the only discipline of each promedium citizens of there, like everyone there are pretty clean. I mean,
Okay, so the average citizen is pretty complete in every aspect, as you would say.
mhm.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Mickey, I don't know if you have questions about Michi's presentation or some aspect of Japanese life that causes you surprise or curiosity.
Mm, well, we know that uh, Japan passed through different wars, and it's something that I was wondering a few days ago, and is why the countries that suffer, because obviously, well, we know that Japan passed for so many wars and so many conflicts, but now those countries are like the leaders in comparison with other countries. Do you think that there's like a relation with war, or there's a cause that makes that those countries now are the leaders in so many aspects? I don't know if I said correctly, but I hope you could understand me.
Totally, totally. And I had that similar idea a while ago. And I feel that your comment is very, very smart, very, how can I say? Well, I don't want to judge it, but I make a connection. If you receive a vaccine, the vaccine actually is a virus or a bacteria that
Mhm.
causes conflict in your body and makes it react, and that creates defenses in your
Yeah, of
organisms.
course. Mhm.
I would make the analogy with a war. If the war doesn't totally destroy, and even when it totally destroys the organism, like in the case of Japan and Germany and Russia, they start rebuilding the society. If you see any documentary about war in Germany, from war and the events in Germany, you will notice that Berlin had no brick over another brick. It was just absolutely, totally destroyed. Actually, there is a documentary that says Totale Zerstörung, total, absolute destruction. And now look who they are. And now look
Yeah,
where they are. It's amazing. So I think your comment is extremely sensible. It's remarkable in the sense that, yeah, those nations grew up almost from ashes like the phoenix did, right?
yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Eh,
well, it's a comment to take as an example.
what's your opinion, Mitch?
Pardon?
Yeah, Mickey makes a very interesting comment. Countries like Japan, Germany, Russia, even China, that have
Yeah,
suffered many wars, are now in the top places in the world in the standard of living, technology, well-being. They live well, and however, they had wars that almost destroy them, totally destruction. So, what is your analysis, or what is your logic? The logic of this mix?
That how the nation restructured them after the wars.
Yes, because they were almost totally destroyed, like Japan, Germany, Russia, and now they are powers or superpowers. Every
Uh-huh.
nation suffered dramatically. Probably only the United States didn't suffer. But other than that, Germany, England, France, Russia, Japan suffered dramatic. Well, look at Israel, the Israelis, the Jewish people. And now
yeah,
they are the kings of the world. What is the justification, or how can we explain this strange situation in Japan? Look at Japan, how it is.
I mean, talking from the ignorance, I think that a huge hit for the nation was a kind of motivation to progress for all the citizens to try to avoid that something like that happen again.
Well, I would say that's a very important comment and accurate. They were motivated to survive, right?
Mhm.
And that's probably the strongest motivation. Very
Yeah.
good. Okay. You have a comment, Mickey?
Mm, well, about those countries, I think they could overpass that because they they know their mistakes, they know their story, and actually, there's a phrase, and it's like, uh, "Who doesn't know his story is how do you say doomed or dumb to
Who doesn't know the story is going to repeat it or something like
is going
that,
to repeat
right?
it." Yeah, condenado, but I don't know how to say it in English.
Is condemned to repeat
Uh,
it.
is
Condemned.
condemned to repeat it. Yeah,
Yeah, wow. What a phrase.
it's a good phrase.
True. Yeah. Well, that causes me conflicting feelings, opposite feelings, contradictory feelings because I am reading about German philosophers, and one of them is called Habermas. Habermas, a German philosopher, and he's more or less complex, but he has a very succinct, very simple phrase. He says, and I just put that in my Facebook. He says that
Mm,
for a society to be harmonious and to be balanced and well developed, all we need is to have the technique, the technology in culture, agriculture, to be developed and to have good ethical behaviors. And I just posted in my Facebook that all we need is those two, right? Because that means that we don't have ethics in the country and we don't have
yeah.
technology. Of course, it's simplistic and exaggerated and sarcastic, of course,
Hmm.
but it causes me double feelings, mixed feelings. What do you think about that remark, Mickey? This German philosopher. All we need is technique and ethics to live in a nice society.
Yeah. um, it looks like something easy, but at the end, if we see our country and if we see our society, unfortunately, I think that we have a lot of things to improve, and those things are the things that we need to focus, that we need to more focus on it.
Right, exactly. Very good. Okay, well, Mitch, thank you very much for your presentation. That's very interesting. It'd be interesting maybe in the future to think about the historical evolution of Japan, all the important events they have had. They had a very strong war with China, the Manchurian War,
Mm.
that was dramatic also and changed the destiny or the fate of the country. Maybe later you can tell us a little bit about that. Okay, thank you, Mitch. Mickey, you want to show your presentation, please?
Yes, sure. I'm gonna share the screen.
Yes, thank you.
Can you see it?
Yeah, it's visible now. Right. England. Wow, interesting country, interesting story
Let
in
me see
every
if I
sense.
can increase the image. Can you see it better?
Let me see. Yeah, perfect.
Uh,
Yeah.
well, in this occasion, I'm gonna talk about England. Uh, I did in a different way. I did it like if I was a travel agency, and that's why I use that. How do you say? Plantilla? uh, the
Grid, this grid or this palette.
yeah, this polite. Uh-huh. Well, first of all, England is a country that is part of the United Kingdom. It shares land borders with Wales to its west and Scotland to its north. The Irish Sea lies northwest and the Celtic Sea area of the Atlantic Ocean to the southwest. It is separated from continental Europe by the North Sea to the east and the English Channel to the south. The country covers 5/8 of the island of Great Britain, which lies in the North Atlantic and includes over 100 smaller islands, such as the Isle of Scilly and the Isle of Wight. Well, the official currency of the United Kingdom is the pound sterling, known as the pound. And if we want to compare with the Mexican peso, one GBP it's equals to 22.28 Mexican pesos. And here's an image of the pound sterling and uh, some coins of England too. Uh, about religion, the majority of the society in England are Christian with 59.5%. Then the 25.7 are non-religious. The 9.1 are unknown, and just 1.3% are from Hindu. How do you say Hinduism? Hinduism religion,
Yes, Hindi or Hinduish.
Hinduish. Yeah, I would imagine that those people who practice this religion are from other countries, and that's why there's like a minority. Well, about food, I think that England is not a country who is distinguished. I said correctly.
Yeah, or that can distinguish itself.
For the food because they don't have like a specific cuisine. There's not like an England cuisine. There's a mix of other cultures, and one of the most popular dishes there are the fish with potatoes, uh, the normal breakfast that includes eggs, beans, bread, jam, sausage, and well, it's like the normal breakfast, you know.
Yeah.
And the dessert is the most popular, the apple pie.
Okay.
I read that it's based for other countries. I think that in England is popular to the Indian cuisine because there are immigrants there, and obviously they expand their food and their culture too. But in the other hand, music is something where England is always um, recognized for it. I put here just a little bit of just a few of all the artists that England have, and for example, one of the most famous is the Beatles. In the actuality, Harry Styles, Rolling Stones, obviously were famous too, and Elton John.
There
There
were
are
groups like Queen, Mickey, that was also British or English. Queen,
Queen. Yeah, I think that they were from England too. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know if Metallica was English as well.
Actually, I saw an image of Metallica, but I wasn't sure, and I didn't put it here.
Okay, okay,
But yeah, probably yes.
probably. All right. There are
Hmm.
lots of musicians and groups that are
Yeah,
fantastic.
Adele, Ed Sheeran, who else? The Who. Well, the majority of the most popular rock bands in the 60s or 70s were from England. And the
Absolutely.
auxiliary are, well, for example, Harry Styles or Ed Sheeran, Adele. There are so many musicians from. from England. Well, I put here some of the most touristic places. One of them is the Tower of London. Tower of London is one of the world's most famous fortresses and home to the priceless crown jewels. It was built as a royal residence and prison nearly 1,000 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know about Stonehenge. Obviously, I've seen images, but I don't know that was in part of. I don't know if it's specifically in England, but in the United Kingdom. And obviously, there are a lot of theories about how it is possible that those stones were, how do you say, peeled or were
Yes.
in that way.
Yeah, assembled. Yeah, how do you put a
Mhm.
stone of that magnitude on top of the other ones?
Yeah, I read a little bit, and there are people who say that were the ovnis and UFOs and a lot of things. But at the end, I don't know. I want to research more about it. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think that the majority of people recognize England when see the Big Ben. It's one of the most famous buildings in England, and I read that they say that is the most exact clock in around the world. I don't know if just to attract more tourism, but that says that. Well, that was my presentation.
Very good, Mickey. Thank you. It's remarkable how England has had a very strong influence in the Western world. Well, to begin with, they created the 13 colonies in the U.S.,
Yeah.
to which is now the one of the most powerful nations, and no doubt the strongest nation in the last decades for a number of years. I don't know if it is still this prime place for the United States, but the origin is England,
Hmm.
as all the same as our origin is Spain.
Yeah.
What is your image of English people, Mitch? When you hear the name English or from England, what comes to your mind?
I was mute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
uh, the flag, the teas that I hear that they tend to be very polite. Also, their accent, the difference with the American English, and things like that.
Well, they have a very different accent. Did you know, Mitch, Mickey, that at one time most of the mines in Mexico were under the British or English rule? They were the owners, they were the managers, and they were the people who had the technology to exploit the mines in Mexico and in Latin America in general.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, you know.
Well, many of the mines before the the acquisition of the mines and the expropriation of the oil were in British control, in English control. Actually, the boss of my grandfather was a miner. He worked in a mine in Guanajuato, in the Valenciana mine. When he
Hmm.
was 13 years old, he quit high school because he became orphan and he had to support his mother. So he started to work in a mine. So when he was 13 years old, he learned to use explosives and open mines with explosives, with dynamite and TNT. And his boss was an Englishman. He taught him how to write shorthand, which is taquigrafia. Shorthand was very useful. Imagine in the 20s, 30s. So he learned shorthand with this person from England, and then he learned shorthand in English. That made him surpass one day because he was only a miner, a regular miner,
Yeah.
working in a mine as a kid. But he worked there for like for 6, 7 years, and one day the governor of the state, Mr. Fernandez Martinez, who has the name of the sports city in León, Ciudad Deportiva in León, Fernandez Martinez,
Hmm.
called. He was in need of a person who knew shorthand in English, and the only person that knew shorthand in Guanajuato at that time was my grandfather. So he got a job in the government, and that changed the fate of his family. Um, but well, that's another story.
Wow.
English were in command of the mines, the mining industry. They were in command of the sailing boats
Mm-hmm.
when they are known also for having the pirates that took the gold that the Spanish took from Mexico and other countries to take to Europe, remember?
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, they totally exterminated the Indian population in the United States. So well, that's why most of the people in the United States after the colonies were mostly white, because there was not a mixture as it was the case with the Spanish and the Indians here. So a remarkable town, a remarkable, unique town and culture. What else can you say about them, Mitch, that comes to your mind? Sportsmen, scientist people, Faraday, Henry Faraday,
Yeah.
uh,
The
Leeuwenhoek.
French.
Yeah, people who were scientists. Isaac Newton was an Englishman. So they were also pioneers in science and technology.
Charles Darwin.
Charles Darwin, exactly. One of the greatest biologists and scientists that the humankind has ever had was English. In culture, writers like Oscar Wilde, well, Oscar Wilde was Irish, but Orson Welles, for instance, Shakespeare,
Yeah, Shakespeare. Charles Dickens, I think so.
Charles Dickens, yes, Chesterton, another fantastic writer. And obviously, they claim that Rudyard Kipling was English, although he was born in India.
Well, yeah.
But it's like with Tesla, right? The Americans say that Tesla is American, although he was born in Serbia, former Yugoslavia. And they say that Enrico Fermi, that created the atomic bomb, was American, but he was Italian. And Heisenberg was American, but he was German, the creators of the atomic bomb. Well, very interesting. Questions, Mitch, about England for Mickey?
No, I think it was pretty direct and good explained.
Very well explained. Yes, yeah, it was very well explained and very, very nice. Why do you think they went out of the European Union, Mickey? That's still a debate.
Mm, well, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not too informed about it, but I think that it's because they are a little bit selfish in a way, because I think that they think that they don't need the Europe. How do you say? Europe Union.
European countries, European Union?
Yeah, but at the end, like I said, I'm not informed about it.
Yes. Well, England is clearly a unique country in many ways. When the Germans were launching missiles from Peenemünde and landing in Dunkirk, they resisted.
Mm,
They have great politicians too. For instance, they talk about not only Chamberlain, but this one, the one that was repelling the German bombing during the Second World War. What was his name? He was the prime minister, one of the most important ones with Queen Elizabeth's command. His name, one of the most famous prime ministers of England. What's his name? Most famous prime ministers of England.
Boris Johnson?
Um,
No.
which one?
I read Boris Johnson, but no, I don't think so.
Churchill, Winston Churchill.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Well, there is a very famous joke about Winston Churchill. They were in a very elegant dinner with the Queen and other ladies, and obviously other men. And there was a big table. Let me show you. This is obviously an anecdote. I don't know if it is true or not, but a friend of mine told me it was true. And there was this lady Wildomir, I think, a lady of the royalty. She was sitting here, and Churchill was sitting here, and they had two wine cups, right? One cup of wine here, and another one exactly the same on the other side. And then they didn't like each other very much. So Lady Wildomir didn't like Churchill very much for his also a little bit selfish way in which he conducted himself, right? He was not royal, he was not uh, from the bourgeoisie, but he was in the bourgeoisie. He was not a very high class guy, but he was extremely intelligent, and he was sharing with the royals, with the royalty. So the Lady Wildomir says, "What is this man doing here? Right? He's not royal." So she said to him, "Winston, if I was your wife, I would put poison in your cup." So Lady Wildomir said, "If I was your wife, I would put poison in your cup." And you know what Churchill responded?
What?
He said, "Well, if I was your husband, I would definitely drink it."
It was a good one.
Yeah, that became a very famous episode. I don't know if it's true or not. Well, let me go now to the topic of climate change. Then, really quick,
Yes,
in
sir.
the minutes that we have, um, countries like Israel, they have made the desert productive thanks to the great use of water. How have they done this? What do you know about the story of Israel, Mitch?
Not teacher. Sorry.
History
I'm
of
very not informed for that.
history of Israel. What do you know about the Israelis, Mickey, in general?
Mm, well, I know that Israel is a desert, right?
Mostly desertic. Yes, it's mostly desertic.
But I read a few ago that they were producing like more water than it needs, or how can I say it? Like,
Yes.
yeah, something about it I read, but I'm not completely informed.
Well, look at this video. I'm gonna send it to you. It's a 4 minute long video. We're not gonna read it. Just take a quick look at the video. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna show you the video. I'm gonna send it to you. And just take a quick look through the video. Don't watch it all. So that's yeah. That's the video. Take a quick look at it, please. I sent it to the StreamYard chat. I'm gonna send it to the WhatsApp chat too.
Think.
Let's see here. All right, I just sent it.
Thanks.
Yes, yes, yes. Take a quick look and tell me, please, what you think about the Israelis' handling of the desert, their use of water. Well, when you're ready, give me a comment, please.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you've watched it or watched a little part of it, but how do you like it?
Um, I still watching it too, but it almost finished.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, me too, teacher.
Okay. What's your comment about the short video that you saw, Mitch,
Oh
Mickey?
my God. Well, I think from the comment that said about the wars of the king countries, there a country suffer a pretty terrible tragedy, and they got the motivation to get better in some way or another. And this of Israel, I didn't know about it, and I'm really surprised. For something, I think I could get a some fate of the humanity.
Yeah.
uh, well, it is admiring how they get this advance of technology and how they get better. Because I thought, well, I'm not informed, but I thought it was everything like desert, like some parts of Arabia Saudita. Uh, but I'm pretty impressed actually. I'm going to
Yeah,
follow that channel.
yeah. Very good comment. Exactly. People feel impressed with the progress, and as you say, the courage, the motivation they have to overcome, like Mickey was saying, they overcame or they overcome difficult situations. Good comment, Mitch. Thank you very much. Mickey, what's your impression?
Well, it's something incredible. I think so. Uh, just imagine if we focus on things that really matters. For example, we know the situation of Israel, and we know the situation that they pass through so many years. But if those people focus on what really matters, well, there's the result. Because in the video said that it was a research about almost 7 decades and work and effort and money too. I would imagine, and it's incredible how they do it in that way, and the goals that they have is something good.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And now you have these people have the motivation because they are
Mhm.
suffering, they have problems, they have water scarcity. So yes, they are compelled, they are motivated to do research, to investigate, to work, to share, etc. Right? That is very important. How can we motivate 50 million people? I mean, or who should we motivate here, knowing that out of the 120, I think you mentioned this data, Mickey or Mitch, the other day, 125 million people, and somebody said that more than 50% don't have the basic basket of food.
Yeah.
But here the question is, and now what? What who do we have to motivate? In other words, what else do we need to start growing as a nation if more than 60 million people don't have the basket food to eat? So what more motivation do we need than that, right? The need to eat. That's a
Mhm.
question that I ask myself very often.
Yeah. Unfortunately, governments and society in general focus on other things, and that's the biggest issue because we don't focus on things that really matters. And not only Mexico, I know of probably the majority of the countries focus on
Yes,
things that
yes, of
probably
course.
there are things more important than the things that they focus.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I am really surprised with nations like Israel, even Cuba, that is a small land and they struggle and they try to overcome difficult times. I am really impressed by the way other nations struggle and get ahead. Mitch said it, you said it. Countries like Japan, eh, mm, well, even England too. England had many problems a while ago. But look, countries like England had the first cooperatives in the world. You would say, well, they are capitalistic. Yeah, they're very capitalistic, but they had the first cooperatives, mainly in cotton fields. What do you understand by that? Well, that they were the first ones to fight the incredible capitalistic systems. And, well, that's incredible. Germany started with the credit unions in Germany, and France and Italy, France, Italy, started with started with wineries cooperatives. So if you think of these systems To put a balance in society in capitalistic countries, you would say, well, I would imagine that cooperatives started in Russia, Cuba, Hungary, but now they started in Western countries. What is a cooperative, Mitch?
A
What
cooperative.
yeah, let's see if we can Google the definition in internet, please. What is a cooperative?
Mm,
Please.
uh, a cooperative or OXI is a type of organization or business that is owned and run by its members who shares the profits and make decisions together. Cooperatives can exist in various industries, including agriculture, finance, healthcare, housing, and retail.
Very good. Do you know any cooperatives here in Mexico, Mickey, other than Cruz Azul?
Mm, um, not sure.
And well, Lucy Fuerza del Centro, of course, that is almost non existent anymore. Uh, there are not many cooperatives in Mexico anymore because the legislation is kind of hampering them. However, there are lots of cooperatives in Germany, in Italy, in Spain, in France, and in Canada. For example, let's Google the number of cooperatives in Canada, which I think we saw the other day, if I am correct. Number of cooperatives in Canada, number of cooperatives in Canada. And
5,812. Wow.
yeah, cooperatives, 5,000. And if you notice that Canada has 30 million people, what percentage of the population is this? Let me see if I can open Excel here. Let me see if I can open an Excel file. Um, well, that's a lot of people, a lot of cooperatives. I think we did this the other day.
Yeah.
Highways, this was for infrastructure. So, cooperatives in Canada, cooperatives, Canada. How many cooperatives do you have in Germany? Remember, we saw this the other day too, I think.
In Germany,
Yes, I think. We had a very good number too.
mm, Germany, more than 7,000 cooperative
More than 7,000. More than 7,000 cooperatives.
cooperatives.
And well, now what is the function of a cooperative? It more or less gives balance between two economic systems, which are the what's this? This is the name of a very recent economic system that is openly capitalistic, and this more or less tries to put a balance against open capitalism. What's the name? I forgot the name, but well, they more or less try to put a balance. Do you know how many cooperatives are in Mexico? Can we find out, please? How many cooperatives in Mexico?
Oh,
Mm, Cemento Cruz Azul, Pascual Boing, and Zapatista Coffee Cooperatives. I think that there are only three.
Okay, yeah, cooperative societies key to Mexico's economic drive is more than 600 according to this Mexico business, but
Okay.
600 compared to 7,000. Let's say if they say more than 600, let's say that is 700.
yeah, I found some other cooperatives, other examples that it says Fondo de Desarrollo de la Economía Social, Caja Popular Mexicana, Sistema Producto Nopal Tuna,
Yeah,
COFEUCH, y Cooperativa de Ahorro y Crédito. Sindicato de Telefonistas de la República Mexicana. Ey.
very good, excellent. That's excellent information, Mitch. How many then, more or less? How many cooperatives?
Mm, I, I didn't find that. I,
Well, somebody says that it's more than 600.
more
Okay,
than 600.
here, okay, okay, here, look. This is a very, very interesting data here. In the first paragraph where it says globally, can you read that, please?
Me?
Globally, the international. Yes, please, Mitch.
Globally, the International Cooperative Alliance estimates that
Alliance.
there are approximately 3 million cooperative societies generating US to 2 billion 35 per year, plus more than 10% of the world's employment in Mexico alone. It is estimated that more than 600 authorized and unauthorized cooperatives operate the country, according to the
Yes.
CONCAMET's figures.
Okay, very good. So 600. 600 cooperatives. In a few words, a cooperative is an organization that helps society of groups, a group society, right? If like the social security, well, you make a cooperative to obtain benefits that the corporations will normally not give you, right? So cooperatives. But then look at the population. Population. Canada 30 million, Germany 85, 84 million, Mexico 125 million. Look at the numbers. This
Yeah.
is incredible. That means that we don't care too much for our society, in a few words. If a cooperative is an organization that gives social support, social help to the less protected people, then you can get your conclusions from here. Population and cooperatives. 5,000 in a country with 30 million, 7,000 in a country with 84 million, 600 in a country with 125 million. It almost makes
Yeah.
you laugh, right? And you say, well, now you understand why the society is so abandoned, really, because the system does not care for the gross, for the mass, right? Well, that's that's a comment just to keep in mind, right? Very good. Mitch, Mickey, before we say goodbye, I'd like to ask you if we can recover our classes Saturday and Sunday. I don't know if that's possible. We have two
Sunday?
classes pending, so if possible. If not, next week is Holy Week and we can have several classes in Holy Week.
Well,
I'm not going out.
that's true. The next week it's the holidays already. Then Sunday's
Yeah.
okay.
It can be later if you wish. It doesn't have to be at 9 or 8. It can be 10, 11. I don't know. For me, it's a free day. This Friday, I need to go to Aguascalientes for my degree. I need to be in person. So when I take the class here, I just connect. I have the English class, and after that, I have the class with the doctors in online. But this
Mhm.
Friday, I have to go. So
No, it's
we have
okay.
Yes,
I
sure, it's
maybe
okay. Mm,
Saturday and Sunday, Mickey. How about that? And we recover one of
yeah.
the classes, and next week we recover the other one.
Saturday, I have swimming class at 11, then could be before than 10.
Could be
Before
around
10,
probably at 8:30 to 9:30. Could be
Mm-hmm.
an hour.
8:30 to 9:30.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay, let's do that. 8:30 to 9:30 because I start classes in the language center at 9:30. So all right, 8:30 to 9:30, and I just
And we can schedule the next class uh, on Saturday.
okay, perfect.
Yes, sure, it's okay.
All
Yes.
right. Well, thank you very much. Then so see you Saturday 8:30, and then we decide the time on the Monday class, right? On the Sunday class.
In the class.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sure.
teacher.
All right. Enjoy. Take care. And thank you very
Bye.
much
Have a
for your
great
time. Take care.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
Thank you very much. Take care.
You too.
bye.
Bye bye. See you soon
Okay.
then.
See you
Bye
soon.
bye.
Bye.